Welcome in, everyone. It is Between the Ears, and I'm Schuyler Callihan. That's Christopher Hall, and it's time for a weekly episode of how WVU beats their opponent, and that is TCU Horned Frogs this week as West Virginia travels to Fort Worth for a primetime matchup, 8 o'clock under the lights, ESPN2. Both these teams rolling in 3-1 overall and 3-1 in conference play, and really kind of on similar paths. They both lost their season opener and then have won three straight. Different ways of getting to 3-1 for sure. West Virginia hasn't maybe looked as sharp or as crisp offensively, but what do you expect? They have a redshirt freshman quarterback playing the majority of the last two games, all but five or six snaps. So it's going to look a little unorthodox. And I don't know how much longer that type of offensive play style can keep going, and how long they can sustain that and win games. But maybe they can get by with it for another week. We don't know about the status of Garrett Green at the time of this recording. We do know that he is day to day. We probably think it's going to be a game time decision. But in the meantime, Nico Marchiol has taken a lot of reps over the last few weeks and seems to be gaining some confidence, even though the numbers probably don't show that. But Chris, let's just start with the quarterbacks. I mean, does it matter who starts? If it's Garrett, if it's Nico, does the game plan change much for how this team has to succeed offensively to beat TCU, or does it pretty much just stay the same?
I think what you're missing, obviously, with Garrett is his playmaking ability with his legs. Nico can extend plays. He's still not there yet with the pocket presence. So I think you have the better chance right now with Garrett Green. Team rallies around him. Of course, they've rallied around Nico as well. So it's the playbook's the same. You just don't get that improv like you do with Garrett. I'm sure Nico will get there. He'll learn to kind of roll with the pocket or extend the play and look upfield. He's done it a few times, but he's only a redshirt freshman, still getting his feet wet. Been kind of behind people. JT Daniels last year, Garrett Green this year, so he'll get there. But you definitely miss Green's improv, and it's not a knock on Nico. I think he's done a great job. He's been accurate for the most part with his passes, but has missed. Really, I think his biggest weakness right now is when guys are completely open. Balls have sailed or come up short, but he's thrown it in tight windows. So I don't know. That's just a mental thing. Not trying. He's not, try not to mess it up kind of mentality, messing it up. Or in those tight windows, he's been fairly accurate in those tight windows.
So what are your thoughts on Nico so far? I mean, obviously the pick game, it's kind of hard to evaluate him on that because he got thrown into the fire. It was kind of an unexpected situation, but maybe more so the Texas Tech game, what you thought about it from him, because obviously he had the entire week to prepare. He knew he was going to be the starter. He knew that it was all going to rest on his shoulders in some sense in terms of the passing game. But just your thoughts on his first collegiate start, and if he is the guy on Saturday, he'll be making his first career road start. So, I mean, is that something that you worry about, or because he had that experience at Oklahoma State last year, even though he didn't start, it's kind of similar to the Pitt game where he played a lot. Is that just not even a concern at this point?
I don't think with Nico. TC is probably going to have a better crowd since it is a night game. It's not going to be middle of the day where it's hot. So they will have to deal with the crowd noise a little bit. Oklahoma State, you think of it last year, was rainy. There wasn't a lot of fans there, but it still gets loud. So I don't think there's really going to be an issue with that. They practiced crowd noise. I know Garrett got a lot of the reps, but they practiced crowd noise heading into Penn State. So he's used to it. Not really concerned about it that much. More concerned with him just remaining patient and not rushing his progressions. That's really the only things with him that you kind of worry about if he starts feeling pressure from that defensive line and that defense overall from TCU. That's a good defense. That remains to be a good defense. So really, that's it. I'm not. You don't really worry about the crowd. Zach kind of handles that up front. He should be fine. He's not a kid that's been rattled. Saw him make a mistake last week on the fumble. And bounce right back. These guys have each other's back. I think the biggest problem, really, with the passing game overall has just been this is a new group of receivers playing with these quarterbacks as well. Devin Carter's really the only one that's been in a starting role, and I mean he's struggled mightily so far. They've all
Yeah.
really struggled overall. So again, Nico's thrown it in those tight passes. Garrett Green has made some plays as well in the air game. It's just getting these guys really on the same page. A lot of this is just timing. as well.
Right.
That's why they're behind on some of the passes. So you kind of hope it's hard to really tell. You're going into your fifth game, and you haven't really had much of a pulse on passing. How much can it really improve? Really, if it starts to click, it'll click. But it's just a matter of will it ever click. This isn't really, yeah, they're athletes, but these aren't a strong bunch of group of receivers that know how to create separation right now. And some of that could just be them thinking still too much. Again, a lot of these, Devin Carter first year in the offense. So we'll see kind of what happens. This is a good group. They're going up against Saturday, so got to hope that the running game can live up to the hype that it went into in the preseason.
Yeah, receivers are kind of like hitters in baseball to me. Like it's so contagious. Like one guy starts getting a hit, and then they all start hitting. When they don't start, or when one guy stops hitting, they all stop. And it's kind of the same with receivers. Like as soon as someone has the case of the drops, they all get it. And if you can get it all going in one game, I mean, hey, if you're looking at it, this is probably the game to get the passing game right. TCU has really struggled defending the pass, and that's against some okay teams like Colorado. Obviously, they
Yeah.
have some firepower, but I mean, Houston's not what world beaters by any means. They were replacing a lot of talent. So SMU even they're replacing some talent. So it's not like they're going up against top tier offenses, but they're struggling against the pass. And you look at the rushing game. I mean, they're 16th, I believe, in the country against the run. So when you have those types of numbers, does West Virginia look at this as an opportunity of yes, this is maybe where we can get right, but at the same time, you could also flip the script and say maybe TCU's thinking, well, this is maybe how we can get right because West Virginia can't throw the ball. So when you have these two types of weaknesses going head to head, I mean, which one really has the advantage?
I wouldn't say TCU's pass numbers are weak, more than they've just been able to stop the run and put teams, kind of behind the sticks per se. More pass attempts is going to happen. Guys are going to win one-on-one matchups. Scoring defense is up there, top three, top four, I believe, in the conference. And those numbers, when you see a really good a run defense, generally the passing numbers. I mean, they're still seventh,
Yeah,
right in the middle of the conference. And you're talking about Colorado when they had Travis Hunter. He was pretty good. They didn't know what they were going to
it's pretty
get.
damn good.
And, Dana's going to scheme up some things. SMU isn't really a slouch in the passing game. So it is what it is. This is a really good defense. When you kind of look at them all, it's a team effort throughout their lineup from levels 1 through 3. They're getting contributions from everybody, from all three levels. Name them. Both corners, both safeties, throughout the D line, all the linebackers. They're getting contributions. Look at their tackles as well. They're fairly even. So it's going to be a tough defense. It's a great challenge, but really it's going to be up to West Virginia's running game. It has not lived up to the hype. They have not been explosive. They have been very slow coming out of the backfield. They're not hitting their holes, and this is all things that they've practiced. They're all trying to hit the big play, being a little too patient in the backfield. Just hit the hole, and they'll get their yards. They'll be surprised how fast it opens up. And this is something that Chaz Scott, they've been preaching to them for years. CJ knows this. Again, this CJ's only second year. A little concerned that maybe he has a tell when he's getting the ball in the backfield because, I mean, if they've obviously they're going to have a lot of guys keyed in on him. But, man, the holes have been there. They just got to hit them.
Yeah, and I mean some of that could be the lack of the passing game. Obviously when you don't have that threat that everyone's got their eyes in the backfield at the tailbacks, and they're not really worried about getting beat over the top or behind you. But I do think there have been some instances where you can see on tape like there's some missed opportunities on the ground, and they need to take advantage of them. So, one more question for you before I ask you your keys to the game. So, with the way West Virginia has played offensively in these last two games against Pitt and Texas Tech, we all know that you're not going to win games like that throughout the entire season if that's how you play on a week to week basis. But can it win this week against TCU?
They can keep him out of the end zone. It'll work. You got to finish some drives, though, obviously. Last week really showed, they played complementary football. When they needed to score, offense went down and scored. You just want to see more of that urgency throughout the game, kind of the put your foot on their throat kind of mentality. Easier said than done. You also have No matter whose quarterback, still inexperienced. You don't want to put them in bad position, turnover, uh, deep in your own territory, and really change momentum. So it's kind of easy to sit back and say do certain things, but at the same time, when they haven't shown life to kind of open up in the passing game, do you really trust it? Seen interceptions through the receiver's hands again this year. So at times, you just kind of want to lead on your strength. And when they've had to, they've went down and scored. So yeah, it can still win, especially when you win in time of possession. You want to see them have more success early in the second half to keep the defense off the field. They struggled there in the second half with missed tackles, and that just comes from fatigue. So just wanted a little bit more success really in the second half. And yeah, you most certainly can win this way. Trouble is when you just face a team that's much more talented than you, that has a very talented offense, can pretty much score at will. I think that's where you can get in a little bit of trouble.
Absolutely. So keys to the game here for West Virginia. I mean, it's hard to kind of change these up every week, right? Because at least at this point in the season, like I just told Eugene, like you're 4 games into this. You kind of are who you are at this point. It's not like there's any mysteries really out there. I mean, there may be some questions about what Garrett Green's ceiling really may be, or how really good this defense may be, or it's just too early in the season to tell. But we kind of got a good feel for what this team is. And I feel like we kind of know what they're going to be from here on out. But offensively, for me, I think it's obviously you've got to get something going in the passing game, and again, somebody at receiver has got to step up. Like this is game 5 now. There's been so many practices in fall. There's been so many OTA practices in the summer. Guys just getting together and throwing in the summer. You've had the spring. A lot of these guys have been repping a lot together, and I get that it's maybe a little difficult when you have a new quarterback in there, but somebody has to step up. I don't care, Devin Carter, Cortez Braham, Hudson Clement, like it doesn't matter who it is. Somebody's got to step up and help the young quarterback, if it is Nico or even if it is Garrett. Make a couple plays, make somebody miss in the open space, because to me that's maybe even the more alarming thing about these receivers. They're not making plays in space. When they get the ball, they're not making guys miss. They're not getting the yards after the catch that Bryce Ford Wheaton and Sam James were getting last year. Their biggest knock was they were having trouble with drops. This group, they may catch the ball a little bit more, but they're not getting those yards after the catch. And when you don't stretch the field, you don't push the ball vertically, you've got to be able to make up for it somewhere, and that's how you do it. So I don't know how they do that, but they've got to be able to find ways to get yards after the catch. And defensively, I think it all rests on the front seven again. This has probably been one of the most surprising units, at least to me, of this whole team. I did not see this coming, and how deep they've been, both well, mainly more so on the defensive line. They're rotating in what, 7, 8, 9 guys up there, and they're all playing well. So you've got to be able to stop the run. They got one of the better running backs in the Big 12 last week. Taj Brooks, he ran for almost $150. A lot of that came in the second half. So how fresh can they keep this defensive line? How much can they contain the run and really kind of put the pressure on Chandler Morris? I think those are kind of the two storylines for me in this game.
Yeah, offensively, I think you have to rely on your playmakers in the backfield. Uh, I already kind of mentioned it. They got to hit the hole. Just get your shoulders square, get upfield. CJ averaged 6 yards a carry last year. It's what he's got to do. I'm not trying to stretch it out, not trying to be Le'Veon Bell or Najee Harris or whoever that's all patient. Just get north and south. That's where he has his most success. Same thing with White. Really, they're all doing it, trying to hit the home run. The home run will come if you just hit the hole. The offensive line has done a remarkable job. Lean on your strength because the passing game isn't going to come in 1 week, no matter who's
No,
behind there. So you have to rely on your playmakers in the backfield. If they can get upfield, hit that hole 5 or 6 yards at a time. You're looking at second, third, and short. You should have plenty of success, and then build off that, which I thought they did a really good job last week. And really, what they've done, building off success early in the year, but building it with Cole Taylor, with the tight end. I would love to see him get about 10 targets. If TCU allows that, obviously, he's probably going to get a lot of attention. Should open it up for somebody else over the middle, depending on how they bring pressure. Can they bring drag routes underneath? crossing routes over the top. It'll be interesting to see how TCU attacks the adjustment there, but you got to lean on the strength of the running game. Defensively, obviously, they have the Big 12 leading rusher and Amani Bailey. Chandler Morris is second in the league in passing. Top three offense, both sides of the running game, passing game. I think really you're not going to shut them down. You're not going to do what you did to Texas Tech last week. Um, that's quite obvious. I think it was 56 yards in the first half. I think really
Yeah.
this becomes a game of just keeping them out of the end zone. I think they're third in scoring at 38 points per game. If you can limit them to field goals, I think you can win. But again, you can't match field goals. You can obviously to keep yourself in it, but you're going to have to capitalize on those drives with touchdowns, make them count. Don't want to play behind on the road if you can strike early, even if it's at 7-3 early where bounce is kind of funny back and forth from 3 to 4 point swings. Kind of win that battle early. I think you can give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter. Just keep them out of the end zone, capitalize, lean on that running game. Uh, Front seven, defensive line has done great. Mike Lockhart, I don't think you can really talk about him enough.
Yeah. You're not
How
lying,
great
man.
he's
He's
done.
played well.
Day Dawkins, look at Dawkins out there. He's been great. He's been getting stronger as year. Eddie V, uh, really this front, there's a big question mark. If they can continue to get pressure up front and allow some guys to set back, I think they could have success going up against that line and Chandler Morris. So where the blitz comes from, we'll be curious because their receiving core is really good, really deep. They utilize their tight end really well. He's tied on the team, 14 catches with JP Richardson, I believe, is the receiver. So they spread the ball out amongst these receivers. So I think if you can get pressure on him, kind of disrupt it, seeing it against Pitt where they started getting at his feet. Jurkovic played a lot better last week, by the way. Even though it was lost, but you're going to have to try to limit the running game, do what you can with the passing game,
Yeah.
just keep them out of the end zone. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can just keep them out of the end zone, they should have enough success.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah, it's a lot
So
easier said than done. TCU's probably the first game isn't really a representation of TCU. You didn't know exactly
yeah.
what Colorado had, what they were going to do. I know it's a kind of a lame excuse, but I mean Colorado ended up being a lot better than I think everybody thought was going into the season. So they've kind of righted a lot of things. They're getting better. Night home game at TCU again. Crowd should be there since it's not in the middle of the day and 100 degrees. It's going to be probably a pretty tough environment.
Yeah, and I mean, I still think this is a team that can win 9+ games. I mean, I think the talent's there. Sonny Dykes has even said that they felt like some of the skilled guys that they'd lost. Like, yeah, Quentin Johnson was great, Kendre Miller was great, but they feel really, really good about some of the guys replacing them. So this is a tough talent challenge for West Virginia, and if you can go into Fort Worth and steal a win somehow, again, it doesn't have to be pretty. If you come out with a win, you're 4-1. 2-0 going into the bye week. I mean, my goodness, how about that heading into the bye week? I mean, I don't think anybody saw that coming. So even if you lose this game, it's not the end of the world. I think everyone could view every single game as a must-win game. I don't see this game as like a make or break for Neil or make or break for this team in this season, but it could definitely, I think, put this team more on the map for this year than maybe we probably think. This is a tough game. Again, TCU is probably favored by, I think, 11, 12 points. Last I looked, I don't really know what it is right now, but I think they hang in. I think they do. I don't know if they win the game, but we'll see. So that'll do it for us
I'll
here.
add one more
Yeah.
thing. If they're going to limit the field goals, obviously they're going to have great kickoff returns. Because obviously, if you're limiting the field goals, they're not winning the field position battle. And I don't think you're going to win the field position battle unless you continuously get down in their territory. So, some great kickoff returns will definitely help swing momentum. Not asking for a touchdown, obviously, but if you can get it out to the 30, 35, 40, it's only 10, 15 yards difference, but makes that march a little shorter and a little bit more attainable.
Absolutely. So that'll do it for us here today on Between the Ears. That's Christopher Hall. I'm Schuyler Callihan, and we'll be back here for the Mountaineers Now post-game show after West Virginia and TCU take care of business down there in Fort Worth at Amon G. Carter Stadium. If you haven't checked it out yet, go and find our YouTube page at Mountaineers Now. Subscribe, like, comment, and also check out the Walkthrough Game Day show, West Virginia TCU preview with Eugene and myself. So we'll see you guys here Saturday night. Take care.